Zels, the dust is settling. It is true. We are the Castle Rugby Championship title holders, back-to-back winners. We are number one in the world. We are the champions, my friend. But in the aftermath, what seems to come as a big shock to everyone, analysts and supporters, is that the Boks actually kicked more than they've ever kicked in a rugby championship to win it. That must be like music to your ears.
It is music to my ears, mate. It is music to my ears. It is no surprise to me, and I think anybody who's paid any attention to what happens in rugby matches and the trends with winning teams, I think would know from the outset that that is the case. The Boks have a massive kicking game, historically have had a massive kicking game. I think where things have changed for them is their willingness to have a go on transition, and to move the ball more in those sort of situations. But the kicking game is foundational, just like the scrum is foundational to Springbok rugby. And at every single league across the world, every professional league across the world, the team that kicks more wins. The trend is there. I think in Super Rugby, it was up around 65% win rate for the teams that kick more. I've got the stats there somewhere, but I'll have to find them, which is the biggest indicator of success. If you look at teams that carry more, tackle more, and how they concede penalties, the volume of penalties they concede, kick more is the clear indicator of success. Teams that kick more have a higher win rate than the league average for playing at home. So people go, oh, they've got home field advantage. Well, kicking more is a bigger advantage than playing at home. So I'm not at all surprised to see that the Boks kick more. Historically, all the great teams, even though we don't care, can play from every All Blacks perception, that was underwritten by a massive kicking game. So it's not just about closing your eyes and kicking. And the key is when you kick, do you kick with the initiative? Do you kick when you're under pressure? But that is a common theme. So I'm not surprised. And I'm glad that that is the case.
Well, you take that All Black side 2004 to 2019. There were two head coaches, Graham Henry, 2004 to 2011. Steve Hansen was his assistant. Hansen took over 2011 to 2019. They coached 210 test matches in that period, from 2004 to 2019. They won 181.
Oof.
More away from home than at home. That's an 86% return, unrivaled in the history of the game. That kind of consistency, which is why I keep on saying no team will ever match that kind of dominance. I think the game is too close between the top 6 to 10 nations now for anyone to ever basically be at number one for 500 plus weeks. As we've seen with the Boks, it alternates. 1 week you're 1 week you're 3, then you're back to number one. So, and that team kicked more than any other All Black team kicked. Yeah. And they had some great fly-offs in Mertens. They had some great fly-offs, the greatest possibly in Dan Carter. And even when Carlos Spencer was playing, pre that, they kicked. They've always kicked. We just see that they can score incredible tries and score 21 points in 5 minutes or 14 points in 2 minutes. And that's what I felt this Boks team started to do this year, was the transitions. Now, generational talent is the word that's been thrown around in the last 6 months. We talk about Sasha. Right shoulder was thrown around in the 90s with Kitch Christie. Till Nick Mallet educated people, there was also a left shoulder at the scrum. But transitions seems to be the buzzword at the moment. Teams talk about we're a transitional team. We play off transitions. It means we play off turnovers. We play good counter-attack in rugby. But the key there is having a 9 and 10 and a 15 who really understands the value of field position and understands the value of a kick, and then winners who understand the value of a chase.
Yeah. So to have that opportunity to counter-attack from a poor kick, you have to kind of seed that circumstance, that outcome, with your kicking game, right? So you have to put the other team in a position where they're going to return a kick that is favorable to a counter-attack. And so there's a lot of thinking that goes into moving the pieces around the board to create that kind of an environment. But that the sort of advent of defense in professionalism, organized defense, and its evolution under guys like Jacques Nienaber has made it very difficult to break teams down on attack when there's parity up front. You know, when you've got physical dominance against another team, then you can keep it through the phases. And when you are extremely slick and you have dominance like Leinster have historically had, you can break teams down through multi-phase attack. But for the rest, it just takes one hiccup in that sequence. You don't have momentum, you don't have ruck speed, and the whole thing falls to pieces. So the easiest defense to break down is unorganized defense. And where do you find unorganized defense? Well, when you turn the ball over. The team that is now defending was on attack 3 seconds ago. Now they've got to try and defend. That's a great opportunity to attack. Or from a poor kick. where they kick you the ball and you basically got a 3-on-2 situation or a 2-on-1 situation. That's an unstructured defensive environment where the defense doesn't have the initiative and they're guessing that they're trying to catch up to the game. So you got to create those kind of situations. That's the easiest defenses to break down, obviously. Much easier than going through the front door, trying to lockpick set phase defense. So I think that's why the focus is on that, because if you can kick a kick and catch it, you're in behind the defense is scrambling to get aligned again, and now you've got a great opportunity. You're going forward, their heart rates are up and you can see the entire field in front of you. That's the best opportunity.
If you take the 67-30 win in Durban against the Pumas,
Yeah.
and then the one to win at 29-27, the 13-3 down, fought back to 29-13 with 15 to go, in total control of that game. But both games were fashioned on a very strong set piece from the Boks in Durban and at Twickenham. Functional line-out, dominant scrum, a lot of kicking, probably a bit more effective in Durban than it was at Twickenham.
Yeah.
But once the dam wall had broken, it was happy days for Sasha and the boys, and there was a 37 points differential. But the hard work was done. They didn't go coast to coast, side to side, to try and build a 22-0 lead as they did against Australia in the opening game at Ellis Park, where it looked magnificent for 20 minutes, but then the legs were gone after 20 minutes.
Spot on.
Here the legs were never going to go,
Yeah.
because there was a lot more science to the approach. Well, that's the way I saw it. When you go back and you watch an opening 20 of the Rugby Championship at Ellis Park, and it was incredible rugby they played, but you can't be picking those heavies and expecting them to basically be doing that kind of running in the first 20 minutes. By the time they get to that first scrum, there's nothing left in there.
Yeah, their legs are finished.
So in many ways, we have then depowered our strength, which is our set piece.
Yeah.
And as the tournament wore on, there was, for me, just far more maturity in the way they played, regardless of whether it was an inexperienced side or the most experienced.
Yeah.
And just intelligent rugby.
Yeah.
It wasn't groundbreaking, or we've now seen something that we've never seen before in the game. If you go back historically and you look at all the great teams, the great England team that won the 2003 World Cup, the Aussie teams that dominated, the All Black teams, the Boks teams, you go back and look at Nick Mallett's team, 97, 98, an incredible win in Paris, 52-10, putting 67 points past Scotland, winning comfortably at Twickenham, coming from 23-5 down to beat the All Blacks 24-23 in Durban. It's very similar to what we saw this season in just how the approach was, because we've always known we've had backs who could play. I think the difference now is you have a very good attack coach in Tony Brown who encourages that skill set. And the biggest adjustment was, and you spoke about it a year and a half ago, how long is it going to take for them to actually find the balance, or to can an emphasis that is maybe too weighted on that and takes us away from our DNA?
No, I think if you look back to the start of last season, and you'll remember better than I do, but we played Ireland. And in that, I think it was the first test, the Boks came out, and from set phase, they went to the left edge, to the right edge, to the left edge, to the right edge. And that was playing rugby to try and break Ireland down. And I think what you're seeing now is that the Boks are playing to set up those kicks that have a high probability of turning into Bok possessions again, or into transition attacking opportunities. So like you say, we've always had the players that can cut a team to pieces. We haven't maybe worked very hard. Our approach historically has been, we're going to kick the ball to you, and that's going to allow us to line up the Andre Fenters and the Juan Smiths and the Donnie Rousseaus to tackle the crap out of you, and eventually you'll make an error under that pressure, and then we'll basically just walk the ball over the try line. And so now the focus is less about kicking and tackling, and it's about kicking and winning the ball back. So if we create a situation where I kick the ball to you as a winger, and I've lined up 3 flankers to chase that kick, and as you catch it, you've got 310-kilogram athletes tackle you and just roll that breakdown. Chances are we're going to win a penalty there, we're going to win the ball back. I mean, that's an extreme example, but that's the sort of concept behind it, is to use your game to line up the chess pieces so that you can win the ball back. And then that creates an environment where you're kicking the ball and winning the ball back, and then attacking against unstructured defense. So I think that's where the Boks are playing now, and I probably think where Tony's added value is just in the comfortability around moving the ball, specifically as it relates to the forwards supporting that. I think the backs have always wanted to do that, but I think now probably the forwards know where they're going and what their roles are, and what that looks like over a multi-phase sequence if that opportunity arises.
But if you take perception over fact, and the perception of people is that team's a boring doer team, that team plays extravagant rugby, and historically the romance of the French.
Yeah.
France, they play from the ends of the earth. They score the most wonderful tries. When Fabian Galtier came in, he improved 3 things. 1 was discipline, 2 was conditioning, and 3 was their kicking game. So Floxeliers came in, became the kicking coach. Their guys kick at 80% plus. Between Ramos and Intermac, their primary kickers. They've got how many 9s they can kick as well. But in the World Cup and in their successful Six Nations campaigns, they kick more than any team in the North. They kick deep,
long,
and they basically play from there.
Yeah.
And then they turn defense into attack. So when you go back and you look at that, it's wonderful All Black teams that have dominated in the past, won World Cups, won every other tournament. What people never saw was how incredible their defense was, the 2 hits on 1, and how they turned defense into attack, how effective and strong their set piece was, because we used to just see the tries and see the winners and see the Cullens of the world and the Will Jordans of the world and the John Olomas and say, wow, the Sonny Bill Williams offload. But the hard work was done. Equally, we'd look at the Springboks and people would say, big, boring, brutes, physicality, run over people. But no, we had incredible backs. So that 2007 World Cup campaign, we scored more tries than anyone else.
Totally.
It's just that the arm wrestle that came down to in the final when we won 15-6, it was always going to be an arm wrestle, but 36-0, 34-30, 37-13 against Argentina in semi-final, 37-20 against Fiji in a quarterfinal, big 60-point wins, 50 points against Samoa. We scored a lot of tries. Marnie scored over 100 points at that Rugby World Cup. 2009, 2011, we had great backs.
Yeah.
Brian Abana, 67 test tries. Historically, we've just had good backs. We've had great midfielders. We just finally got a 10 through Marnie Lebok and Sasha that's been allowed to be incorporated into that structure without chucking away a brilliant World Cup match winner like Andre Pollard, who plays a different type of game. And we've shown that there is place for all 3 10s in that system, just like there's place for a Farida Priya and there is place for a Graham Williams in the system. It doesn't have to be either or.
Yeah.
But the reality is that rugby has always had a scrum for a reason. It's always had a lineup for a reason. It's always had 15 players and not 13 for a reason. And it's always had 3 points for a penalty, 3 for a drop goal, 2 for a conversion, because the value of the kick is what defines rugby union from rugby league.
Yeah, but I mean, that's all great points. I think if you look at American football, them deciding to legalize 1 forward pass on every play is what radically changed that game. Because before then, American football was basically rugby. You just had 11 guys on the line of scrimmage that hand the ball to one guy, it'd be a big pile of dust, and a guy would have gone forward a yard. That was a scrum. And then they legalized the forward pass. It opened up the entire game. Now in rugby, at least on paper, or at least the game used to be, you weren't allowed to throw forward passes. And so to go forward with the ball in your hand, you have to make a defender miss, which has become increasingly difficult over the last 30 years. Or you have to move the ball to try and use the speed of the ball to beat the defense. And in every case, you are throwing the ball backwards. So you're losing ground. You're getting further and further from the gain line. What a kick does, one kick is one action. You pass the ball to one guy, he puts his boot on that ball, and it travels up to 50, 60 meters down the field. You've shifted the contest half the length of the field in one action. Where to do that with the running game, you're going to probably have to take the ball, if you're very, very potent and efficient and slick, you're going to have to take it through 5, 6, 7, 8 phases. Each of those phases require 2+ cleaners at every breakdown. It requires carrying skills, ball security, and that's 6, 7, 8 opportunities for the defense to get their hands on the ball. So to achieve the same distance on the field, the same field flip, carrying the ball requires a lot more moving parts. Now, I understand that when you kick, the perception is that you've turned possession over, and in most cases you have. But you get a point for scoring a try. You get 5 points for scoring a try at the end of the field. It's a field location. You don't get 5 points for trying to score a try. You get 5 points for moving the ball to the other end of the field and dotting it down over the line. So field position is very important. Yes, you have to have possession, but getting there, that's the hard part. And so kicks are a much more efficient way of moving the contest around the field than carrying the ball is. It doesn't mean you shouldn't carry the ball, but you just got to pick your moments where you have the highest probability of controlling the territory as well.
I mean, you've taken a lot of slack over the years when you were writing for Independent, SARugbymag magazine's editor, with all the teams you've coached and the teams you've been assisted by. You've always been a big a big promoter of the kicking game and why there has to be a kicking game. And I think a lot of people have interpreted that you don't like a game where there's where it's like too much carrying, it's too much coast to coast. And I think just to set the record straight is that you've always just gone back to the fundamentals of there's a reason that we kick in this game, so do it well.
Yeah. Yeah,
Don't
100%.
be afraid to do it.
100%. So for me, I have no moral connection to a style of play. For me, you're not a good person if you've carried the ball, and you're not a bad person if you've kicked it. My interest in sport is in winning. So when it comes to rugby, the only thing I care about is did we win or did we lose? And so my sort of research and my interest is leaned towards, well, how do you win? What are the things that contribute to victory? And kicking overwhelmingly contributes to victory. So I mean, as a personally, I love to play with the ball. Like, I love to make guys miss, pass. I mean, I'm a huge fan of that. Some of my favorite players are guys that are electric with the ball in hand. But that's very different to, you and I like hamburgers and we want double patties on each of our hamburgers. But if you and I ran our own business, we'd look at the sort of economics of that. Does it make sense? It wouldn't be about our sort of cuisine preferences. It'd be like, what makes us money? And in rugby, what makes you money is winning. And what makes you win is controlling the kicking game. So that's just the reality of the game. It's not about any moral connection to a style of play. And that's what separates, and I think people miss this, that's what separates pro rugby from amateur rugby. Amateur rugby is about inclusiveness, participation, obviously skills, but the margins are much bigger, and there you can have a style ideology. But when you get to the next level, you have to look at who are your best players, and what does the data tell you about what is the slickest, quickest route to victory? And that's what you have to work on.
And if you go back, and we keep on talking All Blacks, Springboks, because we're in the South, but you look at that 2003 England side that was magnificent in the build-up between World Cups. Johnny Wilkinson at the fore with a great pack led by Martin Johnson, Richard Hills, the Lawrence Delalias that were there. What Galtier did with France as well. What we saw a bit from what Scott Robinson did in Perth. I know the conditions favoured that kind of game, but Roygaard, the ball went, a lot of the kicking was done from 9, a lot of the kicking back again, and the kick chase with Leinster on the one win and Leroy Carter and Leroy Carter on the other win. Good chases, Geordie Barrett's head occasionally, good Falcon and got a try. But they played more pragmatic rugby in Perth and ultimately ground down Australia, put Australia under pressure and got a very good win. 4 tries to 1, 28-14, and Mackenzie missed 4 kicks at goal. Now, if we had got that kind of dominant win in Perth, we'd say, wow. And that seems to be the problem in New Zealand. People still don't recognize that was a very good rugby display from them, as opposed to being this vintage 52-15 kind of performance.
Yeah.
And I just feel that that's where we got the balance right in this rugby championship. And it maybe needed that big horror last 40 minutes at Ellis Park for us to kind of realize we're not quite there yet to play that game. And even if you play that game for 60 minutes, your legs may be so gone that 40 points is not enough to defend in the last 20 when there are no legs.
Yeah.
So when I looked at the league, and we're obviously euphoric at the moment, played 6-1-4, 19 league points. New Zealand played 6-1-4, 19 league points. They won away in Australia. We won away in New Zealand. They won away in Argentina. We won away in Argentina via Twickenham. They're in mourning. We're in
ecstasy.
It's ecstasy. It's like there's never been anything better. This is the greatest rugby union has ever seen, which is not. It's the greatest Springbok rugby has ever seen.
Yeah.
But not rugby union. And Rassie Russ's mate was quick to emphasize that. Guys, this has been done before several times by New Zealand. 3 in a row, back to back, home and away. That's the gold standard that we have to set. But right now, Boks are number 1 in the world. They are the most dominant team. But they're doing it, playing a very pragmatic way and relying on the likes of Will Colo, Thomas Detoy, who's really grown in this season, the big heavies in terms of making up not so much the tight 5, but the back 5 of that scrum. Damon Delandi, unsung hero at 12, big strong bugger, great chasers, and a 15 and 10 that understand when to kick and how to kick.
Yeah.
Now, that's just picking a very good rugby team.
Spot on. I was just trying to find it on my laptop here. I had this research thing that I did on England for Eddie. I did it and sent it to Eddie. I didn't do it for Eddie. And it was around 2018. And England were going through a bit of a slump and they were struggling. And I ran a whole thing on the matches that they'd played, and I tracked their kicks and I tracked various other metrics. And I sent him this report that showed their success rate when they kicked more than their opposition and their success rate when they didn't. And they came to South Africa. I think they lost the first test against the Boks, and then they played them again in Cape Town, I think, if memory serves. Yeah, at Newlands in 2018. And so in the week leading up to that, I sent this report to Eddie that kind of showed the importance of the kicking game. And Gav actually had him at Villager. He hosted him for a Q&A session a couple of days later. And Eddie spoke a lot about the need for bringing kicking back into the England game, etc., etc. And England came out and kicked more than the Boks significantly in that Newlands test, and they won at 25-10. And for me, I just wish I had all the details on my fingertips right now, but that was a great sort of anecdote around just how a team can go from losing 23-12 to the Boks, I think. I'm just in Bloem, and then a week later flipping that result in Cape Town just with a big kicking game.
The Danny Cipriani kicking game.
Yeah. And so, just, unfortunately for people that love to just keep the ball in hand in schoolboy rugby, it just doesn't, the rewards just aren't there in the pro game. And I think the Boks really, really understand that very well. And we produce players that come out of schools that have a very good understanding of that. I think it very much helps that our top tier schools are very competitive. I think the fact that Paul Boys and Paul Jim and Paul Roux, they are all fighting for supremacy every single season. So the margins are narrower for them. It's not like it's Paul Roux and surrounded by lesser schools, and that's all they play. And once in a while they play Grey, and they'll play another big school. They play each other regularly every single season, and I think that breeds that level of coaching where you go, listen, we can't afford to just offload and take guys on. We have to have a bit of thinking behind this. And when you look at the numbers, it really does justify putting boots to ball, controlling the field first, and then waiting for the opportunities. It is quite sort of chronological. You put the kicks in, you control the field, and then the opportunities to strike come later.
But you even go back to the 35-7 win at Twickenham pre the 2023 World Cup, the 45-12 win at Loftus against Eddie's Wallabies, Manie Lebok on both times at 10. He kicked a lot in that game. He just kicked brilliantly. His tactical kicking, his appreciation, the height and the weight that he got on those kicks to make the kick chase easier. And I think possibly where we've changed, and again, just an observation, is instead of just being quite predictable in that we were just going to stick it in the air, 20 meters and chase, we have married that with a lot more lengthier kicks, deep kicks to the middle of the field. If there's nothing on, to say to the opposition, okay, you bring it back. You've got 70 meters to work with. We've got a good defensive line. And to trust, to say that if it's not on, there's nothing wrong in booting it 40 meters, but with a plan, as opposed to a panicked exit, and then you just kind of back under pressure 20 seconds later again.
Yeah.
I just felt the maturity of that Boks team was so much more improved than what we've seen, but it needed a bit of a beating up front. It needed some anxious moments to get them through it. And also, let's not forget, we ended up 19 league points, the same as New Zealand. The difference was we had a points differential, and we did that. We got 43-10 in Wellington, and obviously the Sasha moment, the Sasha game was what ultimately was the difference between finishing second and New Zealand finishing first, was getting 67 points in Durban, which no one would have predicted or preempted before the game.
Yeah.
So we're not going to just give it to Sasha now. No, we are. No, so I was hugely impressed, and I was just playing around with everyone's picking their 15, their top 15 for the tournament. I can't. I can't get to a 15 because everything is so weighted on which team you play. Like Kramer, Marcus Kramer, 97 tackles, the most ever made in history. It just meant they tackled a lot.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't mean that the other loose forwards weren't tackling.
Sure.
Maybe they had more dominance and they had more ball.
Correct.
So it's a kind of, when you look at the fantasy points, who scores the most points, who scores the most tries, the reality is Sasha only played half the games, but he won the fantasy 10 because of that 37-point haul.
Yeah.
So without wanting you to pick your best 15, if you look at the way they competed, the Boks, and you pick that fictitious World 15 now, and we always say there's got to be 8 or 9 or 7 or 8 in the frame for that. When you look at that Bok 23 that played in the finale against Argentina, who automatically, just on performance, would you say you stick into a World 15?
Well, based on that performance, you'd have to say Malcolm Marx. You'd have to say Wilco Low. You'd have to say Peter Steph du Toit. If you pick a World 15, Yeah, I mean, for me, Sia's value is massive on the field, but even more massive as a leader in this Bok team. The backstory to this Bok team, Sia is integral to that. So, but probably Sia. I would say that Sasha, maybe not particularly on that performance, but just his form this season and what he's done in the Rugby Championship is a no-brainer, obviously. Dukes, for me, is still the best 12 in the world in terms of what he does and what he brings to a team. Those are the guys that stand out to me. And there's plenty more. I mean, they're all in the frame. There isn't a guy in there I'd say, no, he's not in the top 3. So those are the first guys that spring to mind.
All right, just wrapping up the Rugby Championship, job done. What rating do they get?
I would say the Boks won the Rugby Championship, mate. And as much as it was a bumpy ride, if they'd won every game and dominated every game, that's 100%. That's an A+. I'd probably give them an A-, an A. I would say 80% for that campaign.
Yeah, that's 4 from 6. They win the tournament. You have to get an A.
Yeah.
If you're all winning 3 games, or maybe a B+.
Yeah.
But they won 4 from 6. They won in New Zealand.
Precisely.
They won away at Twickenham on neutral ground against Argentina. And the big one in Durban for me, when they had to do it, they did it, and they did it well. And they came back against Australia. An Australian side that was so underrated coming into this competition. They grew all the time. But I think it finally ran out of a bit of gas in the last 30 minutes in Perth against the All Blacks. And then an All Black squad that's never going to be weak. They may not be at their strongest. They may not have got their combinations right, but still a hell of a squad.
You still have to play them. You still have to beat them.
That has still won 17 out of 23, a 73% return.
Yeah.
For Razor, which makes him among the poorer All Black coaches.
Amazing.
Rassie Erasmus.
What's that stat that you gave me the other day about his playing career and his coaching?
So his playing career was 17 wins in 23, and right at this juncture, he's 17 wins in 23.
Mate, what a great stat.
And I think his last game may have been against Aussie, and the win in this, no, he's not going to go anywhere. But now we are celebrating Rassie, okay? And yes, he was involved during the Jacques Nienaber era as director of rugby, but Jacques was still the head coach, and he finished on 67%. Everyone is in their 60s, so the Peter de Villiers, the Jake Whites, the Heineken Meyers, and the Nick Mallett ended up on 71%.
Wow.
And these are guys who have coached more than 30 test matches. Kitch Christie coached 14,
Sure.
and he won 14. Take him out the equation. All the rest in the pro era. And Rassie is now 35 from 48, which is 71.8%, which is worse than Razor's record. Rassie was 7 from 14 in his first season.
Wow.
And we were winning like at 44% going into the 2019 World Cup. People tend to forget the big explosion has come in the last 2.5 years.
Yeah.
That 31 from 37, that's an 84% return. That's consistent with a team that did that for the best part of 15 years.
Yeah.
We've done it for 2.5 years and we're going, wow.
Yeah.
So that context for me and perspective always has to be there. And you see the growth of what this team has done in the last 2 years, given that they've had a 2019 World Cup win as well and a shortened Rugby Championship win. And that we won 3 titles, Rugby Championship, in 7 years.
Yeah.
And in the preceding 23 years, we won 3. And that's the greatness of this Bok team at the moment and kind of how they've evolved and the players that they've used. But not to disparage anything that's come before them, because there's been some great All Black teams. And then the Nick Mallett team of 97 and 98, with a Carl Duplessis 97, 98. They beat Australia 61-22, Carl's last test, and then they went into that incredible run, 17 in a row. That year that the Boks were just so dominant and the quality of rugby that they played. So I hate to compare eras. It's like, is it Federer or Djokovic at their prime? Is it Nadal, Bjorn Borg? They were all great players. And I think at the moment, let's just acknowledge what's playing in front of us. It's an incredible Springbok side.
It is.
Coached by one of the best in Rassie Erasmus. Great support team around him. The most inspirational captain Springbok rugby has seen. Inspirational. I always thought McCall was probably the greatest captain in rugby. But if you're talking about the complete package, what he means to a country, what he means to the sport,
no comparison.
then Siya Kolisi is up there, and back-to-back World Cup winning captain. And just to enjoy the moment, we're off for 5 test matches in November. It's going to be one hell of a tour. We also play the 2 big guns over there. It's not England, but it's France in Paris, and it's Ireland in Dublin. And they've been hard to beat at home. They haven't traveled as well, but they've been hard to beat at home. A final point on the Boks and their Rugby Championship and their season. You've given them an A. Does he bookend the season here, 2025, and the 2026 season in preparation for the greatest rivalry tour, and the 3 incoming tests that now count towards points for the Nations Cup. Does he see these 5 tests as the start for 2026, or does he see this as a follow-through for 25?
Oh, that's a great question, mate. That is a great question. I am not 100% sure. Like I've said before, I think maybe that November tour, we see some of the old guard feature more because of the experience in Northern Hemisphere conditions. I think this squad and this momentum won't be put on ice, but I think we'll see a different iteration of the Boks in November, and then a reversion to what we've just seen now for next season's test schedule. That'd be my guess. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a look ahead definitely till 2026. And I think we may see a different style. We may see a far more conservative style because of the conditions. I think you'll see Pollard playing a lot more on this end-of-year tour. And maybe in his mind, Dublin is more the one he would really want. You'd back them to beat Japan, back them to beat Italy, and back them to beat Wales, regardless. And France will make a lot of that game. I don't know if our guys will be, if it's as a bigger deal for them. Sure, they'd want to win every game. But they won the one that counted. That was the 2023 World Cup quarterfinal. And France can never get that back. So there's no Dupont in that French team. They've had a few injuries. It'll be a nice test again for us to see where we are playing a different style of player, playing away from home. But I think this team has made their statements. They've won what's in front of them. And there's no title to win on this end of your tour. It is one where you can experiment a bit. And he's also been a guy that's always been prepared to learn from a defeat if there's going to be a bigger picture gain. But as he keeps on saying now throughout the Rugby Championship, it's nicer to learn from a close win than to learn from a close defeat.
Yeah.
It just feels a bit better.
I think for Joe Public, the France game is really lining up to be the game of the season. But I sort of take your point there for the Boks themselves. I think there's more spice in that Island derby at the moment, and specifically Dublin. I think that's definitely a milestone that they want to reach, a win against Ireland in Dublin. And so I agree with you there. I think internally they may be more motivated. Well, I mean, they'll be very motivated for both these games, but I think that is one specifically they'll target. Like you say, they've beaten France when it counted the most. I think there's a lot of interest in the French team because of the depth they have and the quality of players. But like you say, without Dupont in the mix, it'll be quite interesting. I don't think it'll have the same. I don't think it'll be quite as spicy.
Yeah, I mean, Dublin, France. I'm just happy that we get to commentate, write, talk about a Springbok team that is in its golden generation. And for me, currently has the best player that's ever played for the Springboks. And that is a big call because there have been some incredible players in Peter Steph du Toit. But courtesy of our association and our collab with Toyota Hilux, the Legend 55 that they've launched, they've also asked us to celebrate players who speak to the essence of the Hilux Legend 55. And it's a quartet that we had to look at. We spoke about it earlier in the week. We identified Bakkie's Buerta. We did a tribute to him. Today it's going to be Donnie Roux. In the last two, it's going to be Skalkberger, the Incredible Hulk, and Frans Steyn, just one of our favorites and the current coach of the Toyota Cheetahs. It's gone full circle for Francie. Started his schooling career at Grey College, and it kind of ended up playing for the Cheetahs and now coaching the Cheetahs, also the director of rugby. But Donnie Roux, we're going to chat about him, and it's courtesy of Toyota Hilux and the Legend 55. For over 5 decades, the Toyota Hilux has been conquering South Africa's toughest terrains. So to celebrate the legacy of Hilux and Hilux drivers in South Africa, Toyota has introduced a new special edition Hilux Legend 55. The Legend 55 comes with exclusive features like a roller shutter, newly designed alloy wheels, and Legend 55 badging. It's not a bakkie, it's the new Hilux 55. So go to toyota.co.za or your nearest Toyota dealer to find out more.
Amazing, mate. Donnie Roux, what an absolute beast. I mean, if you were going to sort of draw up in a lab, you were going to create the ultimate rugby player, you might end up with something that looks like Donnie Roux. Massive, massive, massive bloke. Huge chassis. Very mobile for a guy of his size. Decent skill set and mega physical and with a huge, huge engine. Donnie Roux, famous for that try-saving tackle on Mark Quater in the 2007 World Cup final. What a player. And I mean, you reminded me, mate, the guy has won everything everywhere, just about the most decorated player ever.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at his record, 3 Currie Cup titles, 3 Super Rugby titles, a Japanese league title and cup title, played 26 games over there over a two-year period. Now the Investing Champions Cup, formerly the Heineken Cup, he won that. At Toulon, a top 14 French title with Toulon, a Tri-Nations title with the Springboks, the 2007 World Cup with the Springboks, 2009 victory over the British and Irish Lions, 313 professional matches. But here's the kicker: a number 4 lock, a number 5 lock, a number 6 flank, a number 7 flank, and a number 8, which is pretty remarkable. And when I spoke to Heineke Meyer about him, Heineke Meyer coached him through all those years at the Bulls, and obviously when he was at the Boks as the Boks coach. And his quote was that Donnie Roux epitomized versatility, athleticism, and loyalty. He could play multiple positions, so he was invaluable. He says in today's game, I mean, he'd be the ultimate bomb squatter, okay, to come off the bench and good enough to start. He says he was exceptional. He compared him to the best of Victor, the best of Bakkies, and when he plays 8, the best of PSPs.
Wow.
And to combine those two things and put him there.
Sure.
So the greatest respect that he got from his coaches and then from his big mate, Bakkies Buerta. We asked the Bakkies about him, and as he says, me and the Donnie is coming from primary school, and he's an amazing guy. He's a massive team guy. He never let the team down, and this is Bakkies Buerta saying this, Donnie Roux has never publicly got the acknowledgement for how much he played for the Boks, the positions he played in, and the impact that he had. And he says he's right up there with one of the best that's ever played the game. He's done amazing things. He even scores amazing tries. He's a good friend of mine, close to my heart, H-A-R-T, and sends us a wonderful picture of Donnie Roux and Bakkies Buerta winning their first under-9/under-10
glorious.
Trophy in junior school. And guess what positions they played?
9 and 10.
They were the halfback pairing. So when you look at the under-9 or under-10 team, you look at the halfbacks, you could be looking at the next gigantic Springbok lock pairing.
Yo.
But Donnie Roux for the Bulls, for Toulon, part of that incredible Toulon side. They featured so many South Africans, the Joe van Niekerks, the Jean Smiths, Brian Habanas, the Bakkies Buertas, all those Kiwis that played in it. Ali Williams, Carl Heyman, Johnny Wilkinson, Drew Mitchell, Matt Gittow, Manon, who came later, Stephen Armitage, Dylan Armitage. Where do you want to go? It's a couple of French guys thrown in there as well. I think Freddie Mitchell that came into the mix as well. Lobe from Argentina. That was a World 50, and Donnie Roux was one of the stars there. And at the Bulls also, just incredible what he achieved. And what this collab with Toyota has allowed us to do is to go back and celebrate and bring front of mind again the heroics and the exploits of some of these incredible players who have worn green and gold and represented the Boks.
No, spot on. I mean, Donnie Roux on another level. The fact that he's even in this conversation with guys like Bakkies Buerta, Frans Steyn, the incredible Skalk. I mean, that's the tier that Donnie Roux is in, and what a fabulous career. I'm sure he is quite disappointed. I mean, he won a lot of titles, but he just couldn't win the Kolkata Cup, mate. That's the one that eluded him. But yeah, in all seriousness, just amazing. Amazing career, amazing player.
Yeah, Donnie Roux. So it goes out to you. We celebrate you, and we thank you for everything you did for Springbok Rugby, for Bulls Rugby.
Yes.
One of a kind. And it would take a special player to be able to play 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, and then make, from the number 8 position, make a cross-cover tackle, push tackle like he did on Marquito. It was a definitive moment of the 2007 World Cup final against England. Monty kicked 4 penalties. Frans Steyn, at 20 years old, kicked that beaut from about 45, 50 meters. But everyone remembers that 2007 World Cup final in South Africa for the final whistle and for Donnie Rousseau's incredible cross-cover tackle.
This segment of Keo Zels is brought to you by the new Toyota Hilux Legend 55. It's not a bakkie, it's the new Hilux Legend 55.
Vodacom URC time into round 3. For me, the greatest news was to see that Bull squad announced.
Yep.
13 Springboks in it. Andre Pollard there.
Andre.
And Wilco Louw.
That's the Cracho Libre. I love those
They
guys.
probably won't be playing this weekend, but I'm sure we'll see them in the last 2 matches on tour.
Yeah.
Great that Rasmus and the club coaches have come to an agreement and released these guys, because we've always struggled on tour while the Boks have come out of a competition. But that Bull squad looks something special.
No, I mean, it's power pack squad. You look at the list, mate. Like, they're like, oh, yeah, fly off. We've got Johan Goosen and Andre Pollard there, and you still got Keegan Johannes. So, I mean, they They've got a great looking squad on paper. I think for Ackerman, it's a bit of sort of learning on the job, right? Because his URC experience will be quite limited. But he's been obviously involved in Super Rugby, was very successful there, and he's got some proper cattle there. When he gets his best guys back from injury, that Bull squad will be power. And then they've got the panache of their finishers, and that Cheswell Jooste is a rocket, mate. So you combine that with the experience of Willie Leroux and Andre Pollard, they're in a good space. Quite keen to see how they go.
Yeah, they 10 league points, 2 home wins, conceded a lot of points, but got the bonus point wins. They big one, over 50 points against the Ospreys, and then 39-31 against Leinster, who will be at home. And they'll be reinforced with some of their British and Irish Lions against the Sharks team that's been reinforced with Springboks, Makazole Mpimpi and Ethan Hooker. Just knowing that gravitas of player is back does add to what is a mix and match the Sharks team on tour.
Yeah, they want to finish strong. It doesn't get easy for them, though. They're coming up against Leinster at Leinster after 2 losses. I'm not sure when, if ever, Leinster have lost 3 in a row. Maybe they have, I don't know. But they'll be very keen to get back to winning ways. And for the Sharks coming off a draw against Dragons, they'll also be equally frothing just to get back in the W's. So obviously pulling for the Sharks to have a good game.
Yeah, and then the Lions obviously up against Benetton. That's going to be their toughest one on tour. Benetton beating Glasgow 16-14. Rainer Smith, the South African, last-minute drop goal. So we'll be cheering for the Lions as always. Zels and I will be putting our predictions on the WhatsApp channel, on SA Rugby Magazine's Facebook, closer to the time once we see the match day squads. But it's going to be tough for the South African teams on the road. The reinforcements that we speak about, they'll probably kick in for the Bulls and the Stormers. The Stormers have got Damien back, Sasha back, and Kobus Reinach, who will probably make his Stormers debut in the latter part of that 3-match tour. But it's going to be exciting. It's going to be a full-on month of Vodacom United Rugby Championship rugby. We're not going to see the Springboks playing till November, so all in. Every club in South Africa. This is where we no longer unite, we divide, because we are tribal and we are provincial, and we come together again in November, and we all become Bokke again, a Bokke for the 5-match tour. Just one thing, Zels, on the Bulls. It's a squad that's got everything.
No, yeah, I mean, like we spoke about, just the talent that's available in that squad. From 1 to 15, they've got options. They've got great finishers. They've got Davy Creel's having a great start to the season. He's a Swiss Army knife, can play everywhere across the back line. Still got Seb de Klerk there, who's a great finisher. Obviously, Kurtley Arends are coming back from injury. Some of the heaviest experienced back row guys in Marcel Coetzee, Ulrich Loh, Cam Hannekom. There's just tons and tons and tons of talent there. So for Akkers, I think the quicker he gets up to speed with the URC and just some of the ins and outs of it, I think the Bulls are going to be a good team.
Yeah, they're going to be a good team. Jan Grobler is captaining the side over there. Marcel Coetzee is injured. I mean, hell of a player. That third hooker spot is definitely, it's one that's still open. Everything to play for with the Boks.
Great shot.
But it is URC time. And for this month as well, Zels and I have been fortunate enough to partner with Pick and Pay ASAP. And it's the Shisa Rewards Challenge. And we had it a little bit hot a while ago. I had it the hottest. No, radio silence. Yes.
So that's what I said. Jasper Wiese is going to bring the heat this week, mate. Just like flaming hot sauce, mate. Good luck. Hey? Ay, caramba!
That was insane. That was insane.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Wow. Excuse me.
What's it on Flippy?
I guess if you can beat that reaction, you're going to win something big from ASAP. Wow.
The hottest.
He's getting red just saying
Just ready saying it. The cool thing there is if you do your, you download the app and you do your online orders, 4 orders, and you get them on the house, man.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, that's I'm told
Nice.
in this industry is free order is the biggest thing. But also, it's cool sauces, it's cool stuff there. But I wouldn't have minded being a little bit cooler when I took to it. But I thought the challenge that we throw out, I was kind enough for Dobber to invite me down to the Stormers training session for me to see you at work, grafting away, crunching those numbers. It was wonderful to see. And I thought, who's running hot at the moment? Similani is running hot. Ruanel as the captain is running hot. Norm Laker. There's no one like Norm Lake. There's only one Norm Laker. He is running the hottest defensively. Shut out Leinster, 0. Stormers 35, and then Dobbo. D-O-B-B-O. Dobbo is his name, yeah. So I put the challenge to them. I gave them an extra hot, and I asked them what they thought.
No, I just commented. You said it's not that hot, bro. No, it's quite chilly.
Masatay Saratsa. Smaak my, engel, het my tong gepiep, piep, 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 wee, wee, wah. Very nice, I'll have some more.
I'm very sensitive to hot things.
It's one of the mild ones.
Like even Nando's lemon and herbs, sometimes I'm like, yeah, that's it. Yeah. You sit there, your nose running. I feel that's already way too much. It's actually nice, unless it's got a kick that's coming, like a delayed kick. No, I like it actually. It's beautiful.
Let me see what Keo's given me here. Doesn't look too bad, too spicy.
A little down. D-O-B-B-O.
Look, it's nice. Yes,
Nice.
it's actually really nice.
Nori Laker you spoke about downloading the app, mate. He downloaded that sauce. That was incredible. He just took it and gave it a squirt. I was very impressed. Go Nori.
Yeah, Normie good, Adobo good. Thanks, Zels, and was lucky to see where you work most days now. The Stormers always wonderful and inviting. Love those Oaks. And Dobbo gave us a lot of his time, so we sent Zels back to crunch the numbers and do his work while I caught up with John Dobson about the tour ahead, the 2 rounds that have been, and the season 2025-26 for the Stormers.
All right, thanks, Dobbo, for bringing the heat. You guys have brought the heat in the last 2 Friday nights. Friday night rugby, not ideal for Cape Town. You've got another Friday night playing the Scarlets, going over to wonderful Wales. But 2 from 2 very contrasting matches. But we see how the other matches have played out. The Vodacom URC, it is one hell of a tough competition.
Yeah, I think Ospreys were, I know, and I've been the guy who's made some, I've used Ospreys as an example of an unsexy team, if you know, but they might be unsexy, but they're very, very tough, you know. They just wouldn't go away, and that's, you know, our record of them, draw, loss. That game was much tougher than we thought. You're right, very, very different to the Leinster game.
And then looking at the kind of wins that you got to blank Leinster 35-0, I mean, we'll talk about that one forever. I mean, just for those who don't know, Leinster got 0.
Oh,
But
as Norman reminded you.
No, I went and reminded him. I also said to him, now's the time to get out. But
Well, he was doing his contract quickly.
but a lot of expectation, and rightfully so. I mean, you're a champion team. You guys won it in the inaugural season. You're my favorite team. Cape Town loves you. Everyone loves you, okay? And you play great rugby, but you also showed against the Ospreys that you can take it, to quote Rassie, to the gutters.
Yeah.
And you guys weren't sexy, but you were very effective. And that's what's going to be needed on this tour.
Yeah, that's the useful thing here. Even Leinster, we sort of a template. We haven't got, the truth is, you know, we're a transition team. Transition requires the players who are brilliant in chaos. You know, the Sashas, the Marnies, the Damians, the Warwicks, and they weren't there. So we had to roll up our sleeves a bit and get dirty. We did a bit, it was tougher this week, but it's got to be the same template up north. You know, we put up 32 kicks. Your stat, it's the right stat, it's the truth. We put up 32 kicks against Leinster, a couple less this week, but it's that ugly, physical, imposing. Dion Free actually as we ran out at halftime, shouted, "The rock's not going to break itself. You know, you got to keep breaking them," and that's the template I think we're going to need up north.
Well, you talk about the 32 kicks and slightly less, and I did count them. The Boks, when they won in Durban 67-30, against the Pumas, putting 40 kicks. And I think the key there is the balancing kicking, when to kick, the retention of those kicks, how good are you aerially, and kind of which field positions you play. And if there was a critique of the Stormers in the past, it could have been that they played too much in their own half and played but too much coast to coast. But your kicking game with Yuri Matia has been very good, especially the way you've kicked from the back as well, and then back to your defence. So I think the evolution of that Stormers team, just from where I sit, is one that makes you far more serious contenders than just pretenders in playing in only one certain style. Would that be fair comment?
I think it's fair. And your friend and mine, Nick Manor, to send me a message last night saying exactly that. I think one or two moments in these two games we've overplayed a little bit in what we call Middle Earth, the middle of the field and going coast to coast, that stuff. And then it ends up with us giving a holding penalty, and then we got an entry in our 22. But I think that's what's been so good about this thing is the pragmatism of if we haven't got to go forward 2 or 3 phases, put the pressure back on, transfer the pressure back onto them. So I think that's what's given me hope about this team, and I think the work ethic and the physicality. This is quite a don't associate with the Storm as such a big mean pack roster that we've got at the moment.
I spoke to Ollie Kebbel. It's great to have him back in Cape Town as well. Dead runner for his old man. I thought I was speaking to Guy, but he said it's one of the most talented and athletic pack of forwards he's ever trained with, and he's been around. He's played for Scotland.
Yeah.
He's been overseas, played for several clubs there. So there is that tough mongrel element, but you do have the incredible skills of a Sash and a Damien, and then the experience of a Quibus to come back at 9, kind of make his debut for the Stormers. But how encouraging has it been for you, Vern Matonga, Ollie Reid? These are kids playing in the front row, and then Ali Vermaak, 37, coming off the bench. And Shane, how many more years do you want out of him? I think Brock was itching as well in the coach's box to get out there. Given you've lost Kitsy, you lost Frans Malherbe, you don't know when he's coming back, and now you lose Nathan Forshie, who's been outstanding. Victor Matfield said it's probably been, for him, one of the best tight ends in South Africa.
Yeah.
Surprised he wasn't in the box setup. To be able to do it with so many kids and so many, war horses, old veterans, must be hugely encouraging.
It's one of the best positives of this period. Because we always worried about life without Frans and Kitsy. And you're right, Netling, he's world class. He is world class. I mean, luckily the other two in the Springbok team also, Thomas at the tank's been magic. But and then we've just built the scrum culture. I mean, Zach Porthen, last year's SA21 captain, he's come on last year. Benetton destroyed them. I thought he hurt Leinster last week. Ollie Reid, I can't coach that name, mate. What a name. Vern, there's still Ollie Kebbel. It's just that we got this whole belief in our scrumming. Yeah, we had 6 put-ins on the weekend, 6 scrum penalties. And that's without those names, like you say. So that gives me massive... Because if to be a transition team, people think that just means playing in chaos. What you need for transition teams is put the opposition under pressure. So they exit poorly, or you get the territory from the scrum penalty and they have to exit, and that's when we can jawl, as we say in Cape Town. So,
and everyone knows, Darby Snowman needs no introduction here. You need no introduction. But Rito, he's one of the unsung heroes in terms of forward coach, assistant coach. To see kind of the dimension that's been added to the pack, the grunt that's there, the Rowan Ackermans that are coming from Gloucester, having played 7-8 seasons there. Strickling coming back from Japan. Andre Smith's come back from Japan looking like a very different player.
Yeah.
Paul de Villiers is just kind of playing like he did at under 20 level now. Like he's finally settled in. And Evan Russ, I'm always going to be convinced that guy should be a Test Springbok. So just kind of doing his thing, and then BJ Dixon coming off the bench. Simon Murat still to come back. I hope I haven't missed anyone. The hookers are doing well.
I love Connor Evans. I think he's got something to him. I think there've been the 2 things that had to get fixed from last year. I think we've still got some attack way to go, and that's Darby and probably myself with the forwards attack. But our maul had stalled for 2 years. We dropped to about a 10% conversion rate from 5, and now Rito has come up with a new maul. So I get in trouble if I say its name, but it's called the Brabant, the big Belgian horse. And it's got some changes to the setup, and we're scoring more tries, 2 against Lens this weekend as well. And so Rito's done a lot he deserves. Again, he's an understated guy, isn't he? But he's gold. And Norman, I thought the way Connacht, even though we won the game, unlocked us defensively, that game at the back end of last year, the short passing game, so that we had to change our defence. And so far, 10 points in 2 games is not the end of the world.
And then, you've always obviously been a huge fan of Dan du Plessis. You lost Jean-Luc through injury. Rui Matthias coming and done well.
Yeah, that's another success.
But Ruan Nel, captaincy. He was a leader with the 7 Springboks. He's a veteran. He's had some serious injuries in the last 2 years. The skill level he showed for Simelani's try. But I saw the clips of the unfiltered, the behind the scenes, those wonderful series that your media guys put out. But just with such authenticity and from the heart, but also such rugby intelligence that he spoke with. And why haven't you made him captain before?
Unfortunately, Keo's nailed it, because I reckon he's close to our best captain. He's just like all the qualities you've just said. It's embarrassing that we hadn't get him earlier, but he's superb. The other guys are going to struggle to get the captaincy back from him. And I say it wasn't any foresight at all. It was last man standing in my case, and I was wrong by probably about 5 players. He should have been before them.
And then 2 guys you've backed without condition, without ceremony. Sanatla, you backed him to come back from that horrific car accident, arm injury, nearly lost his arm. Lionel Zas is someone you've always just backed. And Simelane, you brought him back. You brought him down from the Bulls. A lot of people were critical of it, said he defensively had issues. You played him at 13. You backed him. You played him at 15. And he's really prospering with that extra space. A bit like, Damon Valencia seems to be better at 12 when he's in the chaos.
100%.
Simelane's better at 15 when he can actually take on and run that ball back. But that must be gratifying for you to see these young kids come through while these seasoned veterans, the Brock Harris of the world who didn't want to retire, the Dion Fourie says, I'm not going away on a golf cart. I'm coming back for another season to see that gees being put together under the mantra of wanting to be one of the best teams in the world.
Those senior guys that we got in the Brocks, the Dions, even Dierwald, in a funny way, Ruan, those guys have just helped the culture. So a guy like Wendy, who came here maybe with not the best defensive reputation, we didn't, let's be honest, he didn't. And work ethic off the ball. Obviously, we want anybody's step in his X factor. The culture that those guys instill, those older guys, have sort of subsumed him, and you've got a behaviour change, haven't you? His work rate off the ball is fantastic. There's no defensive issues. I think this is, Wendy was a sort of, stopgap, and now, jeepers, we can't lose this guy from this franchiser.
But also just great to see these youngsters who you're given the opportunities to actually come good, but also the old mantra, you can only become better if you play. And you can only become more experienced if you get games.
Yeah.
And you can't play like a 50-match veteran if you've only played 5 games. And I think marrying that patience with knowing someone's potential and that they're going to make mistakes and not put them out to pass it too early. I mean, that's been at the heart of your coaching philosophy since you took over the Stormers and kind of won that first URC with a lot of people would have said some no-name brands, some kids coming in. And then the expectation grew that you guys should win it every year. Do you feel you got the squad this year that genuinely can be talked about as a top 4 contender, feet on the ground, playing to your potential?
Absolutely. And I think we've had enough chats, Mark, where we think sometimes the expectations exceeded. It's unrealistic in Cape Town because people want the Stormers to do well. And shuffling off into the Glasgow and Glaswegian night 2 years in a row was pretty miserable feeling, that 5th. We have to play 4th. But I think what I've seen in terms of the changes like you've referred to, the work ethic, the pack, the grunt there, even a Yuri Matia, because we didn't have a home guard 10, and now we've got a home guard 10 who's actually excellent. I think top four we play at DHL Stadium. If we play DHL Stadium, we don't lose. We then win a semi, and this team's got the... And as you said, you throw in people you might have heard, like Kobus, Rana, Sasha, Damien, Warwick, back into this team, then I think we've got the capacity to go further than perhaps I thought before the season. I mustn't react to 2 home wins, overreact, but just seeing not so much the result, but the qualities that are there across the team, I think we can go quite deep.
Yeah, and then I go back and I look at how Andre Gefente and Kotze have come on now. Scudder's always going to be there and thereabouts. I think he picks his 3 games a year. And as Nick would say, maybe 2. But he's great. He's great for the team. I mean, he did well in the Currie Cup, leading a lot of youngsters. And then at halfback, you got Emi Khan, who's got to come back. He's so talented. Ungara, a very, very good player, especially in North with his kicking game. And then Divi's, 100 games, 98 for Benetton, 100 here. People didn't even know he played plenty for Pepion as well.
And his Currie Cup, also province. And
proper oak from Belleville, man. We are in the HBC, home of the champions. It's not going to come to Footrekker Road. Speak to Dobbo. But gone through most of the squad. The one question that everyone asks me is, why can the Stormers look like granite at home but turn to putty on the road? Because it's the same players who go there. So, the 4G pitches are an issue. They have been, but we're into the 3rd, 4th season playing there. But what is it about the mentality of the team that you're hoping to get something different from, or from the coach's side? What do you guys think you have to do differently to get better results on tour, or just better performances over and above the results?
Yeah, it's a question that's bothering us. Look, I think there's a style of rugby issue that we were too cavalier with the ball overseas, and you've seen with some of our things where we do grubber in the opposition 5-yard against Benetton 2 years ago, whatever, some of that crazy stuff. It bothers me because from the days when you were, of your men in black, Stormers always toured best, didn't they? And it was because they're open-minded. And, I've tried to be like that, taking the guys to Venice, trying to make the tour enjoyable. Think if you get that hotel fatigue, it grinds you. And I always expected us. We've got the best away record in South Africa in the local games. And the worst, us and the Lions, I'm not sure, it's very close, the worst in the road. And I actually had lost, we're tweaking some itinerary things. I think it's the game model that we have to understand that we're going to have to be the grim team that sort of ground out some of the Ospreys if we're to get these wins. Because those the local ARs are a disaster there. Because, it's curious, the South African ARs, to my mind, they want to please their opposing team. It's always been a South African team. Whereas there, sometimes absolutely shameless. You know what I mean? If you're a Limerick Society referee, a Munster, then you're not getting any change there. And we have to be cleverer about the way we play the game. And I think we have to be prepared to wind up our sleeves. Adre, Mu, Salman, JD, Connor get physical, grind, the bombs have to go up. And that's the only remedy. I think me taking them off to some Byzantine cathedral is not going to be the formula. It's going to be the grinding on the...
Yeah, well, I mean, just keep them out of Cardiff on the way to the Scarlets and Mary Street.
Creepers.
Keep them out of the walkabout. Or maybe they need to go to the walkabout a bit more, but keep them off the gondolas when they get to Italy.
The gondolas.
Yeah, no wine, lots of pasta, and keep them away from the locals, and I think you'll have a great tour.
That doesn't sound like fun.
But we need 15 points.
Yeah,
I say we unapologetically. People get a little bit annoyed that I'm so pro-Stormers. But thanks, Dobbo. Lovely chatting to you. Well done on the start to the season. The Bulls unbeaten in 2, you guys unbeaten in 2. But it's great to look at a league after 2 rounds and see Leinster play 2, lost 2, and conceded 70+ points.
Oh, shit. We've just got to... We have to go for 3. Just told the team this morning, this has to be the best Stormers tour ever. Now, with every team, I know there are 2 games postponed. Every home team's winning, so it's a challenge. But I think that's our goal, to be the best Stormers tour ever.
And we always know it's DOBBO.
D-O.
Rito go, and there's only one Norman Laker.
It's big tackles, leg hits. Norman is a treat.
Thanks for tasting the sauce. Bring the heat you guys have for the first 2 weeks.
I'm not gonna have
and have a lacquer tour. We'll chat during the tour and kind of do as always. Kind of keep Cape Town smiling, do us proud, and keep the South African URC flag flying.
Shock here. Thanks for coming through. Cheers, buddy. Thanks.